Soto and Chad here, and we are live. It is WrestleMania 41 weekend. Oh my god, I can't believe they've done 41 of these, Soto. It is so friggin' crazy. But we've been on a little journey watching past, so we kind of want to talk about, just WrestleMania in general, some of our memories, moments, and what we think of this match card. But Soto, what
Yeah.
are you looking forward to real quick about this weekend?
Uh, I'm just, I don't know. I mean, is it weird to say Rhea Ripley? Is that strange?
No, I know
Um,
you got a good crush on her, but that's okay. We won't.
I, I kind of do. Yeah. No, like, I'm looking forward to the triple threat match, obviously, with CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Um, I don't know. I'm not that hyped up about the John Cena match. I know we'll kind of get into the whole card and stuff, but I'm not as hyped up for Cody Rhodes and John Cena as I am for like the night one main event. Um, and there's a couple other things I just kind of want to get used to, all these names and see how they work. This is the first WrestleMania that I've watched that I'm gonna watch live, Chad. I want to say since the early 2000s.
And that's crazy to
So,
think about because there's so many storylines you miss, and I will try and fill you in at least
oh
on
yeah,
some of the current ones as we get through it and stuff like that.
dude, I
But
think I've probably missed like 25 WrestleManias to be quite honest with you. Because yeah, 25 years behind feels about right. I think I sort of checked out probably around 2003, 2004. And again, I'm just guessing. But I just kind of it just lost it from me because as I've talked about it before, I just felt that the storylines were just getting weak. I really felt like the product itself went downhill when WCW and WWE all merged and everything because there was no one to tell anybody, hey, that's a bad idea. And, I hate to kind of start off with Vince McMahon, but Vince McMahon obviously is the reason that this exists, regardless of what he's got going on. But, while for me, he was kind of like, obviously a really good part about the business, he also was terrible about the business because it was just his way or the highway. And I really like just listening to Triple H talk about the lot more like sort of collaborative kind of thinking towards storylines and kind of understanding that we all know that this is obviously not real 100%. I mean, sure the moves are, but its approach is a lot more unpredictable for me watching, and that is what is kind of driving me to kind of come back. And obviously it's had its big Netflix boom, but yeah, I'm just interested to see what the product looks like now and see what happens and get back into the Mania thing. And yeah, I guess I'm just kind of excited to just, jump back in. So I think this is a really good time. I don't think I'm alone. I think it's a really good time for a lot of people that are jumping back in.
yeah, no, it's been definitely different and a good change since Triple H took over. Things have become unpredictable, and I think that's kind of the thing I like. But so obviously, let's start off and kind of loosen up here. And I know we've been talking old WrestleManias, but when we were kids, obviously we talked about
Mm-hmm.
this, being WrestleMania fans. So I got to ask you a question, and this is very non
Sure.
WrestleMania, but you know what? I just thought of it. I want you to think, maybe younger let's say Soto became a wrestler. You're now you're a WWE wrestler. You're coming out. This is first WrestleMania. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
All right. So the curtain opens.
Yeah.
You step out.
Sure.
What would
Hmm.
your themes, if you had any choice of a theme song licensed, so it doesn't have to be a wrestling song, but like even if it was just a regular song, what would your theme song be? Like I need to know Soda's think in mind. What you come out, the fans are either cheering or booing. I don't know, some guys like being the heel, some face, but you came out.
Yeah.
What do you need to hear to get you ready for that match? What song? Because obviously I know some of your
Oh.
go-to karaoke songs. I don't know if they're good wrestling songs, but I just need to know what you
Ah.
come in. What would put you in a good state of mind for a wrestling?
Damn. Wow. What did I think about that? Well, I just picture myself being smaller than Rey Mysterio coming out, and that kind of makes me laugh a little bit. Wow, well, you really put me on the spot here.
It's
To
just a
think
simple
about what song
question.
I'd come out.
Most of it's going to be wrestling. I just was thinking about that. I'm just like, what would my song be? I'm like, what would Soda's songs be?
Yeah, it wouldn't be real American, that's for sure. I wouldn't be coming out to that. Jesus Christ. Probably if I had to say something, probably I'd probably come out to some hip hop or something like that. I'm sure. I know that when I used to play Fight Night Round 4, I'd come out to this Santo Gold song um, that I really liked as well. That I thought was an awesome kind of walk up song. I'd have to think about it. I don't think it would be The Sound of Silence from Simon and Garfunkel, although that would be really funny. Um, Hello, darkness, my old friend. As I walk out,
Hey, there's
I
some
don't even
dark
know
characters nowadays, so you
what
can
would my
pull it off.
gimmick be. Like tired old man. Like,
Well,
oh
I
no, he's
guess
saying this would be when I was younger.
yeah, prime soda.
Tired retail worker. That would be my gimmick. That would come out being like, please, I just don't want to talk to customers. Like, do you need a manager? Like, is that what I'm doing? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to really think about that shit. Do you know which one you would come out to? Like,
I've had a few.
obviously you've thought about this.
Well, so I had a few, and I was thinking about this, earlier in this week, just for the hell of it, and I was thinking of old school me or what, something new.
Yeah,
Because for me, it would have to be definitely a rock song. Like I would think of something just going all out.
rock song. Okay.
Oh, that's me.
Guitar.
That's my personality. Like if I were gonna go old school, it would be Born to Be Wild. I would just think that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I need something to get my blood going, and stuff like that. So if I'm thinking something a little more current, and that,
Yeah.
I am a Linkin Park fan, and I would the one song
okay.
I would do Bleed It Out. That's the one that kind of
Ah.
I love a lot of Linkin Park songs. Do not get me wrong.
New
And
Linkin Park or old Linkin Park?
Old. I like their
Old school.
I don't mind Linkin Park 2.0 as I forget. It's basically what it is. But no. I was a huge Chester fan when he was gone. But anyhow, I would say Bleed It Out. Though, like you, there's a hip hop song they did, a song with the Executioners, like It's Going Down.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such, I'm like, that might be a backup. So those are the two that would get me going. So,
think about this, right? Bad Bunny, right?
Yes.
Comes out, and I actually don't think he's that bad of a wrestler. I think he's actually pretty damn good for
a celebrity wrestler. Yeah, correct.
Although, right, for a celebrity wrestler. Motherfucker writes his own theme song and comes out to his own music. Like, who else does that? Well, besides Shawn Michaels.
Well, I don't think Michaels. I don't think Michaels wrote that. I know Jericho in AEW. He uses his band song. So yeah, no.
Good point. Yeah.
So no, there might be.
No, you don't think Shawn Michaels wrote it? You don't think,
no. John Cena though wrote his own song.
Sherry?
No, I know.
Of course he did. Like Scary Sherry and Shawn Michaels, like they brainstormed. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I mean, it's not exactly. Poetry,
no, I mean Michaels is a great.
He did eventually have sing
worker, but he sung it. But I don't think the creativity part of singing is his strong suit.
But it made that. It was great. It's a great walk-up song. So I would love to be able to be like, I wrote my own theme song. It's great.
So I kind of want to talk some old school wrestling before we get into like the new card, and I know we've been watching, and there's some tidbits that I found out that I just had to share that we might have missed, because I know we talked about WrestleMania 2, and there's one thing we didn't talk about, which I didn't realize, but I kind of learned watching this video. WrestleMania 2 was on a Monday. Like, it's the only WrestleMania to not be on the Sunday or Saturday. Yeah, they did it on a Monday.
God.
Maybe that's why I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe just to test the market.
Christ. That was the one with they were like in 18 different spaces, right?
3 different cities, and Hogan versus Bundy in the cage. I didn't really, and like WrestleMania 9, I know is one of the worst ones, but they actually did that in the parking lot. I didn't even think about that, because it's such a shitty, but like a casino parking lot. But here's the funny thing.
Wow.
Because they're Reba McEntire, the country singer.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. She's related to Tito Santana, brother and sister.
I thought you were going to say Drew McIntyre.
No.
It's like, I was like, well, that makes sense. That's same last name, but
no. She's
Tito Santana's sister.
Yeah, I did not know that, and it just kind of came up, and I again, I'm giving some random
Chico,
facts.
as Jesse Ventura calls him.
Yes.
Every time Jesse Ventura calls him Chico, I'm like, it just, oh, like, you racist asshole. Like, Jesse Ventura just made me so mad.
That was old school though, and they got away with a lot more, but again, different times. So
Oh, of course, dude. It was a way different time. Way different time. But I mean, I don't know. Tito Santana has been around for a long time, right? Is he still like active? Not active, but
I
he's
don't.
still part of
I
WWE
have
shit.
no
Or
idea. I have no idea. I don't think he's behind the scenes.
Tito
I could be
Santana.
wrong. I mean, a lot of old school wrestlers are, but I have no idea. So, um,
Really? I never would have thought about the Ruben McIntyre thing. I know she's been in some
yeah,
WWE
she's
stuff
sang the national
back in the
anthem or
day.
something. Yeah. So, but I didn't
Yep.
realize they're. I just watched this video of random stuff. I'm like, oh, I did not know. Uh,
Wow. Holy
so,
shit.
so before we get into this card and this Hall of Fame, because
Mhm.
I do want to talk about both, let me just ask you now. Let's get to the point while we're both kind of here and doing this just for ourselves, and because no one's listening yet. What were
Right.
your growing up? What were some of your favorite moments? What were some of your big moments that you remember from WrestleMania? I know we've talked about a few, but let's kind of relive it a little bit. But what were some of your more memorable moments?
It- Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. That was a WrestleMania moment.
Yeah,
I
the
believe,
Iron
right?
Man match. Yeah,
Yeah, which I mean, it's funny because talk about Mandela effect. I thought they were going back and forth in pinfalls, but apparently rewatching it, it was
nope,
just one long hour-long match,
yep.
and it was not as exciting as I remember it being. I think this is a WrestleMania moment, and correct me if I'm wrong. Is the time? So you remember when like Sid and Papa Shango were like hitting on Hulk
Yes,
Hogan,
yep. And the
and then
Warrior
like
came out.
Ultimate
Yep,
Warrior comes out,
that was
and it's like, as we were
eight.
kids,
Yep.
we as little kids, for me, like the rumor around the playground was that like the Ultimate Warrior had been eaten by a shark and
All
was
right,
dead.
all right.
And so
Now,
that was
I've heard that.
that was
I
the internet
remember
back
him.
then.
No, yeah, no. I remember the idea that he died. I did not hear that. Like they got a second Warrior. I did not know that the rumor was a shark attack. So
Oh,
that
look,
is
this is
that
also
was new to me.
unsubstantiated. That was It's like that. There was no internet to back it up. You just believed what your friends in the schoolyard were saying, and you're like, "Well, that makes sense because he said it." So clearly, they must have found out from somewhere because there was no. Dude, how the fuck did people even find shit out before the internet? Like magazines and stuff? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because there was no instant news source. But he came out, dude. I mean, I fucking almost tore my entire fucking house down. Because again, you hear that he's dead, and then all of a sudden he comes out, and there was no way of spoiling yourself back then, because back then, I'm not saying that wrestling was a more pure experience back then, because it's definitely got its flaws, but you couldn't spoil yourself, not really, because
No.
there was no mechanism to spoil yourself. Like there wasn't, like nobody knew what was going to happen. But then when the internet came out and you could go into forums and find spoilers for this shit. That's, I think, when wrestling kind of changed a little bit. But to go back to my most memorable moment, dude, to me, that moment where Ultimate Warrior comes out and just saves Hogan from that situation, he's just running all the way down the aisle, that iconic moment. I mean, that cements that's probably like the last little kid memory I have of WrestleMania being like, this huge spectacle, if that makes sense.
No, I
Because then
agree.
after that, I grew up.
Did you though? No, because I remember.
Yeah.
I think my first Mania that I watched live was 4. Was the earlier ones I watched on VHS. And I'll be honest, I thought WrestleMania was meant to be a tournament. I thought that was the idea at first. So when 5 came around and it was Hogan and Savage, I'm like, wait, what? There's not, So it took me a while. Again, I was a kid. I didn't really understand how things worked. So again, the moment I remember is the Hogan Warriors stare down, because for me at that time, that's a face versus a face, and that has never been done like that. And they blew the roof for what it was. Like kids and no one cared about what was going on in the ring. They just did their 20 minutes, and fans were just losing their shit, and it was just awesome. It wasn't the most technical match, but it was a spectacle. And I know I've said this before, seeing Hogan slam Andre, obviously that made WrestleMania. But me personally, I think a lot of it's when I came back because I stopped watching at 7. I've said this before, and if anyone's listening, I'm sorry. I did not watch this during the Attitude Era. I started watching WCW, and I came back in 2001 when WCW was bought out. So yeah,
Wow, so interesting.
yeah, and I could have cared less. And I've watched some Attitude Era stuff, and yeah, the characters are great, but a lot of the matches are shit. I'm sorry, they're quick, they're so they're to the point. There are some good matches, and that's throughout times it happens. But I'm just like, it's not as memorable as people think. I just think the characters were not PG, and they just hit the marks. But it wasn't like I say wrestling more of a technical. Yes, it was just a different thing then. I don't know.
Oh, it was totally different. Yeah.
But so when I started watching again, that's when the Undertaker streak kind of became the streak. When he finally lost to Lesnar, though I didn't agree with it, I think that shocked a lot of people. I throwing this out there. I know he's not listening, but he talked to me about it on Twitter. Madness. His favorite moment was from WrestleMania 30 when Daniel Bryan finally won. And I know you don't know the story behind this, so I'm going to kind of explain to you.
No,
Daniel Bryan is probably in the history of wrestling the most organic over wrestler there is, more so than So Cold. I'm not going to say popular, but he got over so organically. So what happened was he's short. He's a small. I say short, but small in stature. I think he's like 5'7", 5'8". I could be wrong, but he is a very tiny. Soto. I'm about to say something that might piss you off, but you got to understand me. Bret Hart is one of the most technical wrestlers, and Daniel Bryan might be the only guy that can out wrestle Bret Hart. If those two in their prime fought, that would be like a 10-star match. Like no one would care who won. It would be the best match ever. He came from the Indies. So obviously Vince, and that just, they didn't see much in him. And, he got a couple pushes, but he never got the big push. Like 2 WrestleManias before, or maybe the WrestleMania before, he was a world title. He kind of was a heel. He won it not in a great way, so to speak, but he lost in 18 seconds. Like he had a match against Sheamus, which a lot of people expected this guy Sheamus to win that one. And fans were pissed. Not that, he lost just in 18 seconds. And then the fans turned him face. And I don't know if you see what they call like the yes chance or the yes, that's because of him. And this whole thing just snowballed. Like he beat John Cena clean at SummerSlam, and then the Authority screwed him, and people thought, they are not going to have a chance. He was not even supposed to be in the main event at WrestleMania. It was Randy Orton that was the champ. Batista was coming back, and they were going to have those two fight. And people were just like, no, this is a shit match. We don't want to see this. At the Royal Rumble that Batista won, number 30 came out. All the fans expected Daniel Bryan. Rey Mysterio was number 30. I've never seen Rey Mysterio get booed, though it's not his fault, because they want everyone they booed Batista because he ended up winning everything out of the state, like everything. So yes, they eventually had to put him in the main event. He won. Seeing the fans do the yes, it was just a huge moment. So yeah, Madness, because obviously a little bit younger, that's a big moment, and that deservingly so. That was just like, if anyone, like if there's a time where the fans willed someone to the main event, that was it. And he, like I said, so if you ever see some of his matches where he actually wrestles, not, maybe a spectacle, but yeah, him versus Bret Hart, both, if they were both in their prime, I tell you so, I would pay to see that match. That would just be like, you just sit there and just be in awe. There's nothing more you can say. Whoever wins, you wouldn't even care. So, but yeah, that's one of Madness's favorite moment. That was a crowning moment. He won. Basically won for the little guy, so to speak, the underdog. But they played it perfectly. But yeah, it was because of the crowd reaction, because of how they made him, like they almost forced him to get into the main event. Because yeah, people were booing everything that wasn't Daniel Bryan. Just no, this is shit. But yeah, if you ever see a yes chant break out today, when fans are excited, like they want this, that's because of him. So it's like, we joke about the Stone Cold and the what when people are bored. Yeah. So when people are excited and they do this is awesome or yes, yeah, it's because of him. So yeah, that's Madness's.
Oh, the this is awesome thing is because of him as well?
No. I'm just saying sometimes they say this is awesome when they want to see something, or they say like yes. Like those are the two main things. No, this is awesome has been around for, we thought this is awesome, like some old school wrestling. And I'm like, ooh. I like it when the fans go
I mean,
crazy.
kinda, dude, but like that stuff was really more like ECW and shit. Like, I'm talking ECW that was on the Spanish channel, like in the late '90s and shit.
Yeah, the
Like
real, yeah, the
that
Paul.
to me had like the crowd, kind of interactions. Now, as I watch wrestling now, it's like I'm not saying this is a negative, but man, it is way more sing song alongy. That's not even a word. I just made that up. But it's just everything is like it's like crowds singing along to Cody Rhodes' fucking opening.
Seth Rollins
Uh,
song. Yeah,
it,
no, it's
yeah, and it's like, and then these openings are all like these walkouts all take like 10 to 15 fucking minutes to get fucking done. Like it's like spectacle and pageantry. I'm watching the old school ones, and obviously sometimes they didn't even have music; they just walked out.
yeah, the
I'm not
old
saying that
ones.
it's a negative like to have your theme song, but it is very much to me from the small sample size that I've seen, and I'm excited to see tonight, tomorrow. It's way more about spectacle now than it ever has been, and the crowd participation and the sing-alongs and the whatever. Like fucking Jey Uso is over. Like I don't even understand. He's not even that good of a wrestler. Like from what I've seen,
So
but he's over.
yeah, I will say
Like
this, and I know
you know.
I'm going to get into this with this match when we kind of get to it, but they pulled the trigger late on him. Yeah, he was a tag team specialist. Obviously, him and his brother, they are the longest reigning tag teams, holding the titles longest. The whole bloodline story, which I know you missed, was huge in the beginning, and Jey Uso was like the right hand man who got abused, which we've seen in wrestling, And if anyone, and I said this, I'm like, God, I know they won't pull the trigger, but it never should have been Cody to defeat Roman. It should have been Jey. And I know they gave Jey like there was he was the first one to pin Roman Reigns in like 2 years. It was a tag team match, so they can do it, but Roman keeps the title. But I'm like, Jey Uso should have taken that title off because that pop at that time he's over now with the Yeet chants and stuff like that, and
Yes.
but like during that storyline with the bloodline, that before the Yeet chants take over, like that's when they should have just, even if it was just a short reign, like again, it would have been one of those moments that people remembered. Just again because Roman lost,
Yeah.
because Roman had, but they were able to stretch it out. So it's it's a different style of wrestling for Jey Uso, but he is. I think they should have given he deserves to be champion because of what he put into that bloodline story. But this is like paying it back a little late. So in my opinion, he's probably going to win. But
I
before we
just
get,
think.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to kind of
Well,
go to the Hall of Fame, but I want to stick on this if you're still on this. So.
well, because like I just I think about the last 25 years and then the previous I don't know 15 years that I watched it. And when did Triple H take over? Because I'll tell you right now, I really think that Vince McMahon just became the problem with the product, and because now again this idea that they have, I feel like I believe more in this creative team than I do
Oh,
with Vince
100%.
McMahon.
Because
I just think that it's better. It's way better when you have a group of people that can say, like Triple H was saying, like you can have a focus group. You talk about it every night and all that stuff, and the way that the approach is just it's not like the Vince McMahon my way or the highway, which I think Vince was honestly Vince had a lot of misses.
oh god, yeah.
As
Because
like a creative guy like that, he had a lot of misses, and I mean, yeah, he was, kind of lucked into some things, right? And Undertaker being one of the greatest gimmicks of all time, um, but he didn't believe in the Stone Cold like thing before it came out, and so again, I don't know when Triple H and that team took over, but I think it's just I'm excited for the product moving forward, and I'm more willing to commit to the product moving forward just because I agree with their creative philosophy, if that makes sense.
yeah, no. So I will say this, and I'll give you a little history. Officially, Triple H took over in 2022. Creative. Before that, I want to say 2017, maybe 2018. He was running NXT, which is the developmental system. It's like
Mhm.
and then they'd call him up, and for 3-4 years, outside of the women's wrestlers that went up, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, so like a lot of them at that time, because the women's wrestling wrestlers needed at that time. Some succeeded, but Vince screwed up a lot of what Triple H did in NXT. Like he created stars in NXT, and I didn't really watch it, but I kind of read up. And then once they get to the main roster, they would fizzle out because Vince would either change it. Like, all right, so for example, Jay Uso's facing Gunther. That's Gunther's not his original name. Gunther, similar gimmick, than what he does now, but his original name was Walter. And then he didn't, Vincent, like, so people are like, fuck, you switched to Gunther, like it became a joke. And I think that's why a lot of wrestlers left WWE for AEW, and that's why some are coming back, and we're going to see some maybe tomorrow night in the Randy Orton match or the day after. So, but yeah, so Triple H was running NXT, had great feuds. One of the best feuds, DIY, who's kind of middling in the tag team, but their history, they were almost like the Triple H and Shawn Michaels of that, because they were best friends, enemies, just the matches. They were just so good. And they did things that's never been done, storyline, because he could test it out in NXT. But yeah, when they get to the main roster, a lot of people, some made it, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them got screwed up and just got fired. So 2022, Triple H takes over, and product has gotten better. But as you said earlier, there was no internet. What he's done is just kind of made you second guess things. Just kind of he put out false rumor, and obviously people eat it up and then change it. And I think we're going to get to that in a couple of these matches, especially the Punk Rollins, because it's like I hear what might happen. Obviously I don't know, but that's the best part. We just don't know. You just go along for the ride. So, but before we get to day one, I just want to quickly talk about the Hall of Fame. It's funny because I know I texted you. I didn't realize I misread that. I thought it was at 10. I'm like, it started at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yes,
I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I was wrong about this. I'm like, obviously, even at 10 for me is late because I got to work in the morning. Then I was like, oh, okay, no, he's definitely not staying up. Yeah, well, they're in Vegas, so
it's 1 o'clock in the morning. But, no, of course, but like I'm like 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, I mean, I have to. That's like I'd have to get up for that. Like I'd be like, oh, I'm getting up at 1.
Well, it's funny because
back to bed. It was like 3 hours long, or
oh yeah, no, they pay their respects. Because originally they would do it on Saturday, and then Hall of Fame on Sunday, and then after a while they actually did it right after SmackDown. That's why I kind of thought it was going to start at 10, like SmackDown would end, and they'd have a special airing. But the fact, this is the first I think they. Later at night, or I hate to say fancy up because they're always dressing up, but yeah, so I did watch a few things, but not overall. But obviously the headliner is Triple H, and we've been talking about it, deservingly so. He didn't put himself in. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker called it. They're like, let's put him in, because it's always better to put in a wrestler when they're alive to talk about it than someone after they pass away. Yeah. It's kind of sad. Right. So they felt like he deserved, because he retired when he took over creative. He had to retire because of his heart attack too. He was done, and
which he talked about.
Yeah. So not only what he's done for the business now, but obviously one of the best heels throughout the 2000s in the Attitude Era. I mean, without him, yeah, you wouldn't. The faces, The Rock, the Austins, and Mick Foley's just wouldn't be as big as they are. You need to have that hated heel to get the faces over, and he's the first heel to win a WrestleMania. He actually has the most losses out of anyone in the history of WrestleMania, because obviously being a heel you're going to lose a lot, but he was the first heel to win the main events, I think, WrestleMania 2000. So, but rightfully he deserved it. So
there's no doubt, dude. I mean, he had a huge impact, and then obviously all the stuff with the Click, which he paid for. He paid for and had to. I remember he had a job to the Warrior and lost in like 2 seconds. Like Warrior came out and just fucking ran him over.
Yep.
So he definitely paid his dues. He paid his fucking dues, and he knew the right way to do things. And I've been, following Triple H for a long time, and he just has a really great mind for this medium, basically. And every time I hear him talk about it, or it's like, okay, like this guy knows what's up. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because, and I'm watching it this morning with Sarah, and it's like, she's like, he's putting himself in, like, doesn't he like?
Yeah, it wasn't his show. It was a surprise. It was if you find the original footage, they're at an event.
No. I saw the original one, but it looks funny for anybody who's like on the outside.
No. I'm not denying it, but. You can't say no to HBK and Undertaker when they're saying you go in.
No,
it's like, all right,
of course not. Yeah,
two legends. So
no, and he deserves, like I said, he deserves to go in. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think that it's long overdue.
100%.
I'm glad he was able to do it when he was still alive because it looked like he was kind of touch and go there. But yeah, no, it's well deserved. And I mean, these guys who go in the Hall of Fame should be guys that had
What
defined their eras, right?
you would
And
think.
I don't know if Earthquake did, but
Well, we'll get to
Earthquake
that.
or Typhoon, but
Well, the thing is, in past, there's been some legends that they put in, like Coco Beware, Hillbilly Jim. And I think we joked, like, can you remember one Coco Beware match? I'm like, well, I can remember him getting dropped on his head. The Bushwhackers are technically in. Um,
what?
yeah, yeah. I mean, again,
Oh
they.
God.
So you're right. I mean, I would love to see a physical one, but yeah. So the natural disasters, not just earthquake, and it's now typhoon. Excuse me, same guy, but I mean, they were good
Get a heel
heels,
turn.
but yeah, there's not
Yeah.
anything memorable. But Luger, this is one thing I like that. Yeah, Luger didn't have a huge WWE WWF run. Like he did, there's a few memorable moments, but his big career was in WCW. So for him to get
Oh,
honored and to
100%.
accept it, um,
Mhm.
deservingly so. Really, he did main. Actually he didn't main event, but he was in a title match at WrestleMania. He won a Royal Rumble, so he did
Mhm.
some things in WWE, just never took off where he could have. But WCW, huge, and deservingly so.
Yeah, he was never as big in WWF as he was in WCW. It just was. He is like somebody I consider WCW, like I consider Sting
Correct. Oh,
WCW.
100%.
Um, like it's just certain guys were that vibe, and um, yeah, a controversial figure, right? Lex Luger. I mean, from what, and I haven't dug deep into anything, but um, I know he had some kind of dark things happen to him in his past. But
He was with Miss
um,
Elizabeth when she passed. Yeah, so there is,
yes,
yes. I mean, obviously, he kind of said it.
that I've heard about.
I don't know if you want. He even said it in his Hall of Fame. He was just like, he went from the highest of highs, to like like the penthouse to the outhouse to the no house. So yeah, he
Yeah,
admits it. And Diamond Dallas Page, with that DDP yoga he does helped Luger.
yeah,
Just
it's crazy.
I'm glad his life is better. But yeah, he was
Yeah.
one that like kind of like Jake the Snake, back in the day, just some dark times to get there. But
I think a lot of these guys do, right? It's
oh,
just the way the
especially
the
the old
business
school
was
ones,
run.
because I hate to say it, the drugs they were probably taking, the pain relievers, the steroids. Um, yeah,
Hey, you think Vince
especially
McMahon gives a shit about that?
no.
Vince
I'm
McMahon
even
didn't
talking
give a
about
shit.
before Vince too. Like, but especially when you're trying to work your way up, because you have to have the look. And obviously, again, going to the '80s and a little bit before the early '90s, it was very bodybuilder image. The Attitude Era
Yeah,
had a few,
except for
but
Mick
kind of
Foley.
changed it, and then it came back. So, yeah, no. I mean, nowadays, luckily I mean, I'm sure there's a few that kind of sneak something in, but either way, yeah, the shit they did takes a toll on their bodies. I mean,
Yeah.
it happens,
Oh,
unfortunately,
dude, yeah, and plus
especially in
you're
wrestling.
on the road all the time. Like you don't get much sleep and stuff. I mean, your body has limits.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter how much you're in shape. If you push yourself to limit, and like Triple H was talking about, you're going to 20 cities in 20 days, and you're up, and you're on airplanes, and you're doing that stuff. Your body's going to shut you down always.
yep,
So these guys, what they did, sacrificing their life for this art form, which it is, um, you know, it's just awesome. I hope that the working conditions are much better nowadays. I feel like they are,
yeah. I
and I
think they
don't
have to
have any
be. I
insider
mean, I think they're
information, but
more under
'cause
a
they
microscope.
just do. Like, yeah, I mean, it just makes sense, like, to take care of your guys and your talent. I mean, they're still gonna get hurt, guys are still gonna whatever, but like, like have a little bit fucking more like empathy for some of these guys and what they're going through. Like, I know they're like, oh yeah, you got to sacrifice. That's what it's all about, but I don't think it has to be that way. And I think that can come out, again in the product different ways. But again, I'm not trying to shit on Vince McMahon this whole entire time, but I think it's important to be like, Vince versus post Vince, wrestling. I mean, that idea is very relevant right now.
Yeah. Finishing out the Hall of Fame, a couple more things. Michelle McCool, who you probably wouldn't have known, now currently The Undertaker's wife. Big in
Yeah.
when the Divas era, mid 2000s. Big influence there,
Mhm.
one of the top stars. But unfortunately, an era when the belt wasn't taken as seriously. Definitely not as now. I mean, they got 2 women's champion, which is insane to think about that would ever happen.
I have so many fucking belts, I can't even keep track of this
I
shit.
I
I,
know, I know, I
I'm
know.
like, what's the difference between one fucking championship belt versus the other championship belt? Like, what the fuck? Like, everybody's a champion? I don't get it. Which I'm sure you'll explain as we get into the card.
Well, maybe at least I can explain, what's going on now. But yeah, no, there's because obviously when they bought out WCW, they inherited the United States belt and the World Championship, I think they called it. And so yeah, so
The big
that
one, the big gold one,
yeah, the big
Ric
old one,
Flair's days.
like Cody is the WWE champion, and either way, it's basically Raw and SmackDown. But now they kind of got away from calling it Raw and SmackDown. Like one side's WWE champions and one side's just called World. It's unfortunate, I don't say it's unfortunate. Yeah, there is a lot of belts. Now they have women mid card belts, but yeah, there is something. It is an overabundance, and some
Mid-card
unfortunately
belt,
get
like
lost. Yeah, and
mid card.
well, the Intercontinental belt was always a mid card belt.
Yeah, but it was always like a step below, like the world belt, the heavyweight championship.
It was
like,
in the beginning, but then
it
it
was in the beginning.
changed. But it's even then, yes, it was a step, and hence why it's mid card. It's the stepping stone to the next where you want to get.
Right.
But then it became
Now-
a joke. I don't know when it changed. Because I think the last. No, every now and then someone brings a little credibility, which I'll get to in the match, especially with Gunther and the Intercontinental Championship. But you think, well, no, because at 3, we'll take a break and then we're going to go through the card. But yeah, you remember SummerSlam '92. Everyone remembers it. I mean, if you watch it back then, Bret Hart versus British Bulldog, the Intercontinental Championship headlined SummerSlam. I mean, again, it was in Wembley Stadium and Bulldog. Yeah, so it was a big deal. Still considered mid card, but yeah, there were so many
Mr.
championships.
Perfect was the Intercontinental champion, and that was a big deal.
Yeah, unfortunately though, they just didn't take him to the next. He should have been. But before we get into our 3 o'clock break and then get into the card, there is one thing. The first that they've done for the Hall of Fame. And I know we were talking about this, and I'm so happy they're doing stuff like this. Because there are so many people that are, like we joked about, the Bushwhackers, but this, they added what I think they call it officially the immortal moment. To me, it's just like a match, but they could, add other moments like Mankind falling off the cage. But the very first one, to be honored, was and since we're talking WrestleMania, WrestleMania 13, Bret the Hitman Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. That match, the double turn. You kind of talked about this match and Bret Hart a little bit, so I'll give the floor to you. What did this match mean to you and the business at that time?
When I was watching it, I watched it live. I remember just the vibe because Stone Cold came out in that match and he was still kind of a heel. And people were kind of liking him and stuff, but he was kind of like this heel that everybody was starting to like. But Bret Hart kind of came out was the face, and Bret Hart turned into a heel in that match, and Stone Cold turned into who Stone Cold was going to be. To be quite honest with you, the whole mythos of him, not giving up during the sharpshooter and just bleeding out and just passing out, shit like that. It was pushed. Now that I rewatched it again, it was like heavily pushed by Jim Ross and Vince McMahon. That kind of idea. So it was a great move, but I think that was such a shift for me. Because I grew up and Bret Hart was always like the ultimate face, I mean, I know Hulk Hogan was the face, but Bret Hart was a face for a long time.
Well, yeah,
and he had his
run afterwards. Yeah, right.
But that changed the era from Bret Hart's time into now Stone Cold's time, and everybody kind of just had, I just watching him kind of push out of the sharpshooter and almost getting out and. I really, when I was watching it, thought he was going to get out of the sharpshooter. And then when he passed out, everything, it was great drama. And then Bret Hart kept attacking him after the bell was done too, which cemented his heel status. After Ken Shamrock threw him across the ring. But as far as business goes, man, that's a turning point match right there. And I kind of, when we talked about it, and you said that was the immortal moment, if you recall, I was kind of like, well, why the fuck aren't we talking about Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat? As far as kind of matches go. But it wasn't. It was an immortal moment. I don't think it was so much of a match, right? It was just kind of like, this is a moment that will live on forever. And that shot of Stone Cold trying to get out of the sharpshooter and the blood coming out of his face and into his mouth and everything, that, dude, like, how iconic is that shot?
No, 100%.
So
And
I think that was huge.
And as you said, it is an iconic moment. And whereas Steamboat and Savage, I would say, is more of an iconic match. And that match, might go in time. Who knows what they'll do? Like even the Hogan slamming Andre. I think I said Mick Foley getting dumped off the cage. But I think the reason, especially listening to Stone Cold and Bret Hart last night, because I rewatched. This is the one thing I wanted to watch. What they had to say about from the Hall of Fame is, Bret Hart called it the best match. And even they said Ken Shamrock did his part as the referee, because Ken Shamrock he did not overtake either of these two guys, but he knew to let this moment go. Stone Cold said it. And CM Punk said it too, the Chicago crowd, because a lot of times these big city crowds make a moment even bigger when they're into it, even when the help steal. And you said it, Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, the commentary team, because they didn't do so. But I think why this moment had to be the first, because they wanted to pick a WrestleMania moment to me. And people talk about, when did the Attitude officially start? And there's been debates. There's debates that started with the Montreal Screwjob. People say the Austin 316 speech. This to me is really the official crowning. This is I think was the start of it. I think maybe the Montreal Screwjob. I think the degenerate Stone Cold versus Shawn. Like there's things that made it go into what it was. Stone Cold being the biggest megastar in history probably. But like you said, it was a perfect double turn. You have two of the best to ever do it. And, even Bret Hart, kept talking about, like, he had so much trust in Stone Cold, and they had that trust in each other. They can make this match what it was. And so it had to be everything. Yes, you had the two performances in the ring, but you had the announcers, the crowd, everything just laid out perfect. And whereas Steamboat and Savage, that's a perfect match. To me, that might be a better match, but this moment, you see Stone Cold in that blood. You just feel that moment, and the crowd
watched it live.
And what I love about WrestleMania crowds is they don't care about face or heel. They just so cheer the moment. That's why there's so many heels that get cheered. There's a different kind of respect during a WrestleMania event. But you just, like you said, after the attack and Stone Cold walking out like on his own 2 feet or stumbling, but he made sure to walk out. That whole thing. But yeah, you're right. Everyone knows Stone Cold's, face bleeding and stuff like that. People talk about so that's iconic. So much more is going to be added, but I love the fact that WWE now, it's a new way to honor some of the old school stuff that made, because you don't think about it. And I'm like, this is perfect, and
that's the work, right? Like that's the work. Honor the work, right? Yeah. Like honor the guys that do crazy shit. And Mick Foley, by the way, just it's like, I'm not dressing up for this at all.
Oh no.
I love, by the way, he's just like, oh, I'm just gonna dress however I want, and people are like, of course, it's Mick Foley. Like, but when I first saw him,
what are you gonna tell him? What are you gonna tell him?
Fucking Mick Foley, man, he's done some crazy shit. He's done some crazy shit that I will never forget. And we talked about, and I know we're gonna break soon, but you talked about like guys having the look and shit like that. Mick Foley does not have the stereotypical wrestler look, man. He is just a regular looking sort of dude, but he does his fucking thing, man. He did his fucking thing, and I do hope that one day that Hell in a Cell will go in there. There's no way.
100%. It will eventually. But I love they're doing this.
It's absolutely fucking iconic. I mean, it just has to. Because when I first saw that, I was blown the fuck away. I thought I was watching something I never thought I would see. And since then, Shane McMahon has done that stuff. But anyway,
there's been a few.
I agree with you that it's a nice change and very cool, because you're gonna run out of guys you're gonna have to induct to the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's not just that, you're putting in people that yes, maybe they and I do, even though they call it WWE Hall of Fame, I like the fact that they've respected guys from other companies, like Sting's in the Hall of Fame. Like obviously Sting, like you said, it's WC. So Luger, just it should be, I'm glad they're doing who meant to the business. But the fact that
Mhm.
now they're doing something a little different, doing this, it's just a new way. Because yeah, now there's all these other, not just WrestleMania moments, but just other moments that might have happened on a, like you said, we just talked about Mankind because I wasn't on a WrestleMania moment, but to just acknowledge it and just be like this, what it meant
Yeah.
to the business. And to me, yes, we can discuss so many other ones that possibly could go in, but when you think about it, to the biggest time, and by that I mean just the most watched, because Attitude Era was the most watched era. Just the millions and millions of people just tuning in. You knew the numbers, and it was never that way before, hasn't been that way since. Obviously, for reasons they had to change it. They can't
Mhm.
do that today. But yeah, so that moment, Hard and Austin definitely deserved it. And so thinking back, I'm like, you know what? I'm glad. It is perfect, and those two guys can come out and talk about it. And no, I'm so glad they're doing moments. So I think that's a cool idea. So they can make it matches. They can do this. So I do think
Mhm.
eventually Savage and Steamboat WrestleMania 3 will be in there. Obviously, I feel like Hogan slamming Andre will be in there. But they had to start somewhere, and to me, that was the start of the
Yeah.
Attitude Era, and so I think that's where it
I'm
ended.
a-okay with it.
I think we
And
all.
I agree with your assessment 100%. Like that is exactly when that started. Everybody can have their opinion about what they're going to have, but that's when it started, right? And wrestling for me at that time went from, everything was a work, and so now everything started kind of being a little bit more of a shoot, and stuff started getting realistic. You would hear guys defecting to WCW. In that time, those two companies were driving each other's performance. That's why I dropped off on it, because they were making each other better.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe not so much WCW when I think about it, because I really don't like the Goldberg run, but whatever. Another topic for another day. But it drove performance because you had to get better. And I just feel that, when WCW got absorbed, just like anything else, when there was no competition, why the fuck? What would be the incentive to get better? And anyways, I know I'll keep probably harping on that for the rest of the
No,
time, but
we're gonna be talking
we
about this
can
for a
we can
while. So yeah, I know a few people have seemed to have joined our chat here. We are going to take a quick 2-3 minute break because I'm going to grab a beer, and then we are going to talk about the
Yeah.
card. We're going to talk about the WrestleMania 41 card and the matches, what
Nice.
we think. Kind of fill Soto in on the storylines because he hasn't really been following it too much, but he has,
No, no
we'll
idea.
talk about it. But the real reason we're here, so go grab a drink, and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. Got myself another beer. Soto's probably got himself another one.
Yes.
So Soto, let's take a look at the match card. Why we're really here. We've been talking about WrestleMania now, some of our favorite moments, things in the past. We'll remember how it got big. But now let's kind of take a look at the matches that are happening. See what
Yeah. Let's get into it.
especially since you don't
Tonight.
know what's kind of going on. I this is the best part. I mean, I know some of the wrestlers. You've kind of gotten back into it. We've talked about this time after a long time. You watched the Royal Rumble and stuff, but let's go to night one, and let's go through some of
Night
these
one.
matches. Yes, so
4 hours from now.
yeah, I definitely.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm just going to pick someone. Probably the one I'm one of the least. I'm going to kind of try and go from least to maybe more favorite, or at least the main event. But the tag team
Sure.
titles. They got the New Day facing the champs, the War Raiders.
No idea what any of those guys are.
New Day's been around for 10 years. They, there's a big, what's happening with them. There was actually three. If you think like the Freebirds and stuff like that, there's a three to the New Day. They
Demolition.
them not at first. That they yes towards the end, but that's because Axe was hurt. No, New Day always started out with three.
Okay.
But the fans just all
So any of the three can be part.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, that, but one of the more popular ones. They were the original people to break the Demolition record as far as the longest tag team championships. Usos then beat Lorraine. But what happened was the third guy, Big E, injured his neck and was out for a couple of years and is still out. And they were holding off
Yeah.
on the New Day. I think they were trying to wait so their popularity went down, and then they finally teased like attention of a breakup, And so you could tell they were pushing it because they had a huge 10-year celebration. Which, if you think for tag teams, that's a long time, like a legit, without splitting, because they've had different. Kofi
They
Kingston was a
always
champion.
break up.
They usually do.
They always break up.
And two of them were world champions at one time, and that was the best part. Like, they supported each other. That's why, because they kind of like Cena. They became like, because originally they were kind of heels, but they became these organic faces. And the kids, it was almost hard to make them heels again because how popular they were, how much they were selling merchandise wise. So yeah, I think you could tell they were stretching this out. They wanted to get to the 10-year. So the two remainder were kind of coming back. Tension, blah blah blah. So at the 10-year thing, the one that was injured came out. It's like, hey guys, I don't want to see you guys fighting. I'll come back as your manager. We can do this. And the two of them look like, where have you been? Kind of like, you could have come back. And so basically, it was a great heel turn because everyone thought who was going to turn heel on who. And in a weird twist, both of them turned heel on the guy that's injured that's probably never going to return. The hard part was they never capitalized on it. They never had a big moment. So that's why a lot of people think they're finally, this was like months ago, the SmackDown side of, because only one tag team championships are being defended, and it's this. The SmackDown has so many good teams. People are like, well, there's like 4 teams fighting for the belts. Why not them? And they're having a TLC match on the SmackDown after WrestleMania. So, yeah, so New Day versus Roar Raiders, just big guys, nothing wrong with that. Kind of like the Twin Towers, kind of like, I think natural is just, okay. But they can fight. But I'm not looking forward to this, but, you never know what's going to happen. People are like, well, will Big E return and maybe be heel with them? But in my opinion, they have to capitalize on like the heel turn. So I feel like, New Day's finally going to become champs here. At least, again, not that it matters. Not
so this is the World Tag Team belts?
I don't know which one. I'm going to say Raw.
There's another belt?
One on Raw, one on SmackDown. So they're the Raw champs. I'll just leave it at that.
How do I fucking know who's Raw and who's not Raw?
I don't know. I don't even pay attention. I do not know, Soto. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Is that how the nights are broken up? I'm genuinely asking. Like, so tonight, is this?
No.
Raw?
It has nothing. They combine them. Everything's combined. They kind of even it out. So no. Yeah.
Okay. The War Raiders kind of look like they're just some Scottish dudes.
Well, here's the funny
Viking.
So we talked about NXT. So when Triple H had them in NXT, they were called the War Raiders. They came up to when they initially came up to the main roster.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm already laughing. Vince changed their name to the originally. Oh God, this good. So War Raiders. I want you to keep that name in your mind, Soto. They were called the War Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So Vince McMahon called them the Viking Experience, and then they went to the Viking Raiders.
Come on, the Viking Experience.
Because they didn't want to use the word War Raiders. Yeah, it was just like, why not? So basically, why they became famous.
The Viking Experience.
The Viking Experience.
That is, God, Vince. Wow. Okay, so, all right, World Tag Team Championship. All right, yeah. I don't know if I.
No,
sorry. You said there's a couple bathroom break ones in here.
Yeah, this will be a bathroom break because this is. I'm going to guess which one's going to open the show. This is probably going to be somewhere in the middle. And to me, like, this is the one. Like, I'm going to put the main event last, regardless. This is the least one I'm looking forward to, so that's why I kind of started out with that.
Really?
Well, because compared to some of the other matches, for reasons. I mean, they didn't really put any effort into this match, so I think, like I said, New Day's going to win because they're going to give it to the heels, and maybe there's some shenanigans, but again, I whatever. So
there's always shenanigans. It's fucking wrestling. But you mentioned that Rey Mysterio versus this coffee guy, El Grande Americano.
Yes. All right, you want to go that route? So what happened last night? And I don't think this was a work. Mysterio got injured. Yeah, Friday night SmackDown. So there's these two.
SmackDown's on Fridays now. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, it's been on Friday. Oh, that's true.
Thursdays back in my day.
Yeah, back in your day. So no. Anyhow, so last night. So yes, Chad Gable, who is El Grande, but not in story. I mean, everyone knows. It's one of those things everyone knows. But anyhow, his faction was kind of feuding with the LWO, the Luchadors, and he kept getting his ass kicked. Like they always kept besting him. Yeah, they brought back the LWO a little bit.
In the world.
Well, yeah. Well, Eddie Guerrero started it way back in WCW.
Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, the Latino Heat. Remember?
Yeah. So anyhow, Chad Gable kept getting beat by the Luchadors, and he just couldn't take it anymore. He had to find a way. And Dominic Mysterio, because obviously his dad's Ray, said, "Hey, go see this guy. He'll help you." No one knows what happened. Then El Grande comes back, obviously hilarious or whatnot, but this is more of a comedy bit. And yeah, so he's beating the Luchadors, and obviously now he's facing the top on Rey Mysterio. But Rey Mysterio got injured last night, and this is a legit injury, I believe. So someone might be stepping in, which could be Penta. Oh no, Penta's the other one. They have a new guy, Ray, his brother. Yeah, no, his brother just joined now, Ray Phoenix, because both of them.
Okay.
So who knows? Mysterio. I don't know what's going to happen this match. I mean, I think they got to get rid of the El Grande and move Chad Gable on. He's made the best out of every gimmick. Like almost like he's done 3 or 4, and he's just such a good worker. He's actually an Olympian. So yeah, I don't know much. This Mysterio versus him would be a good match. So I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like whoever now replaces Mysterio will win, and the El Grande thing is over. So Chad Gable can move on to other things because they have to end.
Cool.
So again, that might be a bathroom break. I all I'm interested in that is the end. What's the story? Where is this going? Okay, good. So the next one I'll talk about is the women's match. You watched the Royal Rumble and you saw Charlotte Flair win it. And I know a lot of people getting sick because Charlotte Flair is always in like the title picture. But she can wrestle. She's actually really good. But she's facing the current champion, Tiffany Stratton, who's kind of like now the next feature. People believe she will be. A lot of people think Flair is just going to win because that's what Flair does at WrestleMania. I don't know. This should be a good match actually between the two of them. I don't know.
There's 2 women's championships. Which one's more important? Do they ever go against each other? There's
no. They used to do that at Survivor Series, but there's no Raw versus SmackDown. They very rarely do the brand supremacy anymore like they did.
There's way too many belts in this shit, man.
I don't know what to tell you.
A lot of belts. There's a lot of fucking belts. I get as just a casual viewer right now. I'm just like, what does this is this belt better than the World Championship belt? Like, is it a big deal?
It's on the same level.
The woman, because Charlotte Flair won the Royal Rumble, so she gets a shot.
She gets to choose her. Yeah, you choose your opponent.
She choose whoever has. Oh God Almighty! But you can see how, for a casual, this is very confusing.
I guess
is Tiffany Stratton better than the WWE World Championship Women's Belt holder? Is there a hierarchy, or are they on the same level?
Same level. Just one's Raw, one's SmackDown. I know Cody Rhodes gets traded better than the champion Gunther because he's Cody Rhodes and he's really the face of the company.
The fuck even right? Like Gunther is the World Heavyweight Championship. That sounds like he's a big deal, but then Cody Rhodes is the undisputed champion.
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't change the name of that belt.
Where Gunther is disputed.
Well,
he's the disputed world. I mean, do you know what I mean?
When Roman Reigns was champion, he combined the belts, so there was only one champion, which I kind of wish they would have kept. So hence undisputed. So when Cody Rhodes beat him, I'm like, all right, they're gonna go back to just calling it the WWE. Get rid of undisputed, but they didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like Cody Rhodes is given the treatment of the big star because he is the face. He's now the face of the company. There's no denying that at the moment. But anyhow,
there's just so much belts. But anyway, that's my first observation of this. Demasiado belts. That's Spanish for too much.
All right, and then we talked about this. We got LA Knight, who's the U.S. champion, facing Jacob Fatu.
Which I mean, LA Knight. I don't know who the hell that is, but I did like Jacob Fatu.
He should win. Fatu will probably win because of the direction. LA Knight's over with the fans. He just like the fans, kind of like Jey Uso. Everyone's gonna love LA Knight. It's just one of those things. He comes in, he does his lines, he does his
what's his gimmick? He's a Los Angeles Knight.
Well, a lot of people compare. Well, you know what? Yes,
Louisiana Knight. I don't get it.
He was a heel because kind of like the "I'm better than you," but again, the fans just, you know how fans are. They're gonna kind of like Stone Cold. They're just gonna like the bad guy a little bit
Yeah,
more. So they kind of just had to turn
right.
LA Knight face. He was just getting so over with his little catchphrases and stuff. But Fatu, obviously, he's huge on the Indies, and he's gonna be. I think he's gonna
I
be
like him.
future world champion. Oh no, yeah, he's just crazy. So Fatu's
Liked his
gonna.
vibe. I don't know anything about LA Knight, but I mean, yeah, I
There's
don't
not much to
know
know.
what.
He similar to Jey Uso. I think just a crowd pleaser. He
Yeah.
should have won the championship like maybe a couple years ago when he was at the height of his popularity. You always need to get it on
Sure.
that uprise, not on the downfall. So, but
Hmm.
they didn't. So
Okay.
now,
LA Knight. All right.
now we talked about women's wrestling. The one thing. So, would you ever think? And I know there's 2 nights of wrestling, but there's 4 women's matches on this card. You know,
Yeah.
do
No,
you
that
think
seems to be the vibe these
you
days.
ever think back in the day Vince McMahon would allow this? Hell, all right, I got a story for you, and I don't know. I doubt
Vince
you know.
McMahon allowing a woman's rumble. I mean, dude, come on.
So
That's crazy.
I think it was WrestleMania 20. They had a Victoria was champion, and she was feuding with Molly
What's her
Holly.
name? Victoria.
Yes, but
Molly Holly.
Molly
Oh,
Holly.
wow.
Who,
I
if you
remember
watch
that.
the Attitude Era, from Hardcore Holly and Crash
Yeah.
Holly. But anyhow, so that was the big feud. Vince McMahon wasn't going to put it
Uh-huh.
on WrestleMania, because these two were probably one of the better two of the better workers. I mean, like, so they could wrestle. They weren't just for Vince McMahon cheap heat, so to speak. But
Yeah.
anyhow, Vince McMahon didn't want to put the match on the card, and these two fought like we can we want to go. Molly Holly, what she did is she went to Vince McMahon and says, I'll shave my head. We'll do a hair versus title match if you let us put it on WrestleMania. And that's the only reason that match got put on WrestleMania. So kudos to
Wow.
Molly Holly to getting on the card. And she did lose. She didn't care. She just wanted that WrestleMania moment
Hmm.
and they had a great match. And yes, her head got shaved. And so, but now, yeah, and I bring that up because one of the matches, no belt, no nothing, just basically what they call blood feud. And you kind of saw that Elimination Chamber when you were like, God, that woman's jacked. But Jade Cargill versus Naomi.
She stood out to me. That was for sure.
Oh
That
no,
woman looked fierce.
she's a bodybuilder. Yeah, she's Brady Green. She's actually very new to wrestling. She was in AEW, but they never properly trained her, so she kind of
Mhm.
stuck out. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't. So that's why I think WWE took their time. They kind of put Jade in like training and stuff and taught her. But that's why there's been a slow build getting her. She was in a tag team at first, with Bianca Belair. So yeah, but this match I think is going to be for a women's match very brutal. I think we're going to see something very different that you haven't seen
I'm
in a women's
interested in
match.
this match.
Yeah, this is
Just because she has look, like she's
oh god,
very
yeah.
like it's hard to not notice when she comes out, and then maybe that's just the old school fan of me where I see big muscles, but she looked like she could kill somebody.
Yeah, and Naomi is
Yeah.
a good wrestler as well. She, more of the. It's weird because she's always been a face in, kind of like the underdog. So it'll be interesting to see her in the heel role. But so,
Okay. All
my
right.
opinion to what the first match is going to be is actually the World Championship match. We kind of talked Jey Uso versus Gunther, and the only
You
reason
think that's gonna be the first match?
100% because it's not the main event.
Oh, that's
They're going to
interesting.
get, but they've done this before, Soto. They've done this before, putting in a world championship match first to get the crowd hyped. Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar in the opening match, and they
I've
went
been
to
watching way too much old wrestling because I'm like, that's why I'm like, that's crazy, but also that's a great idea.
because
It's a
if
great
it's not
idea
the main
because people want
event,
the
there's no way
momentum.
these two can main event it. I mean, Gunther should be a main eventer. They just made his reign a little lackluster, but against Jey Uso, this shouldn't.
You got to pump
But
that shit up at the beginning, though. You do.
But I think that's what. Yeah, they're gonna put this at the beginning because it's Jey Uso. They're gonna pay off Jey Uso for what he's done.
That would be
He's
awesome.
not going to be a long reigning champion, but you're going to get the crowd hyped, pumped up for the rest of the show. So, those quick bathroom breaks in between. Because I do think Uso is going to win. Gunther's a great champ. He's the longest reigning intercontinental championship ever. He's the one that kind of brought credibility back to it in some of the matches he had. And like there's a him against Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, which is just basically 3 big guys beating up 3 big guys, and you're just like, damn, like everything sounded like it hurt. So to me, Gunther deserves to be in the main event. Unfortunately, just this build was lackluster. But yes, I think this will be the opening match because they're going to have Uso win.
Oh,
And, the crowd, you're going to see the Yeats, the crowd, his brother's going to come out. They're going to have a moment. I mean, it, it's going to be a good moment. I feel because the last match is a match I can't fully predict. It's CM Punk
yeah.
versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Now, the interesting story to this, Soto, is more or less with Punk. Now, obviously, Paul Heyman has been the wise man to Roman Reigns for 4 or 5 years, however long that's been. But in real life, CM Punk and Paul Heyman are friends. Paul Heyman brought CM Punk to WWE, very advocated for him, tried to get him the world, like basically really pushed him. And even when Paul Heyman got fired, CM Punk didn't know what to do. And Paul Heyman looked at him like, just do what you do, get to the main event. And this is the funny thing. He's like, get to main event WrestleMania. I will, even if I can't be in your corner, I'll be rooting for you and watching you. And the reason why I bring that up is, yes, Punk never did, because they put other matches. We talk about spectacles like The Rock versus Cena, which was a title match, was a main event when Punk was champion. And so a lot of that's there. So when Punk helped, we watched War Games, right? You did watch Survivor Series, the War Games. I think we watched that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Punk was on Roman's team, and he's like, hey, Paul Heyman owes me a favor, and they kind of downplayed what this favor was. They never mentioned it. The favor is Paul Heyman. He wants his best friend in his corner. So Paul Heyman's not going to be in Roman's corner. He's going to be in CM Punk's corner. So now it's going to be like, people think that Paul Heyman is going to turn on both, go with Seth Rollins. So it's I don't know where this is going to go. Because Punk doesn't have, he even said it before, he pitched for a triple threat match with Rock and Cena. He's like, we can do elimination. You can eliminate me first. I don't care. Like he's like, he just want, and he deserved a main event slot back in the day because he was champ. But I don't know. The only person I don't see winning is Roman Reigns, because I think he'll probably go away because he's getting down to part-time status anyways. He's been here too long. So I don't know and that's why I'm interested. Well, ever since he came back, he had to leave wrestling for a little bit because he has leukemia, and it came back, and then
really?
Yeah. So, but because of that, yeah, he became more of a part-timer. That's why when Cody Rhodes was chasing the championship, he's like, where's the champ? Blah blah blah, and that's why But it was a very real moment when he had to leave. Him, Seth Rollins, and this other guy, Dean Ambrose, were a part of a team called the Shield, one of the best factions ever. And so yeah, he had to leave, and it was it was actually a sad moment because no one wants him to go, but at that time people hated him. Like they were trying to push him as the next John Cena, and people just despised him. And the moment when he came back, he didn't come back as a face, he came back as a heel, which was a shocker. But so yeah, I don't know the outcome. I mean, it's easy to say Punk will win to give him that moment, but he doesn't care about that moment. He just wants to be in that main event, and he most likely will be in the title picture next year if he doesn't get injured. So I don't know. This is a match where I think all three are very good.
Like, if somebody wins this, do they get?
No, there's nothing. It's just three of the best.
Put them anything?
That's what a lot of people were trying to guess, because it's weird that a non-title. But I think they played it. I think because when we get to night 2, I don't think anyone thought I think CM Punk was going to face Cody Rhodes. I think the John Cena heel turn, that he was willing to go with it. They had to put him in the main event against Cody, because you cannot make that moment happen and not put him in the main. But we'll get to that in a second. But I think and then Roman and Seth, they've always had history, so they could have just had a blood feud match. So I think they played up that Punk wants the main event. They put Paul Heyman in this, so something's going to happen. There is going to be some weird shenanigan. But I just don't know how. And we'll see. Or maybe not. Maybe they'll just let these three go, and then we'll see what happens. So, yeah, main event. Obviously, because he's Chicago, I am going to root for Punk, but if he does win, it would not surprise me. But I don't know how to call it. Unfortunately,
I like CM Punk. I mean, obviously, I missed his whole career, but I like him.
Yeah.
I think he's a cool dude. I'm excited for really all three of these. I mean, they all look like they're pretty good workers. So I think that should be a pretty good triple threat match. But
100%.
I feel like there's going to be shenanigans.
Yeah, and they've kind of done that the last couple of years with the bloodline. So, but the fact that they made Paul Heyman
Shenanigans.
almost like a focal point in this, you just know, there's something that's going to
Oh, there's gonna
happen.
be shenanigans.
Um,
Yeah.
and I always said Punk is a great heel. Unfortunately, the fans just love him too much. Like they can't turn him heel at the moment. It's hard. But when
Mhm.
he's at his best, and he's just so good and so funny. Because I don't know, the one thing he is, and this is true, he's like when he came, he's straight edge. I don't. You watch the iconic moment. Stone Cold and Bret Hart had a beer, and Pat McAfee looked over to Punk. He kind of says, "Oh, I'm sorry." No, Punk doesn't drink. He doesn't. He's never had a sip of
Yeah.
alcohol, and that is a legit thing, and that's because of family. He had family things. Like I think his sister was an alcoholic. So he just kind of grew up, and his whole stick at first was, "I don't do my addiction is wrestling," and it was just I didn't know how much of it was true, but it was. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But again, I've always loved Punk since he was introduced. I always thought he was a great, face when he was younger. Then he just became this better heel when they allowed him to talk. But yeah, they can't. He's just way too popular. They can't make him heel. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Hmm.
But I am looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll be awake. If not, I'll see the highlights tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, what's it's like going to be like 3 hours? I would
3 4 hours. I'm gonna
imagine.
say 7 to 11. My guess it's 4 hours. So yes, because with 2 nights. So
I mean, that's fine because tomorrow's Sunday, so I can sleep in. And plus Monday might be a little bit tougher, but hey,
well, it's
that's
Easter
it's
tomorrow. I mean,
WrestleMania weekend.
I'm just gonna eat some food and be happy. Um, but night two,
Oh
Soto.
yeah, that's right. It's Easter. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, sorry. Tomorrow's 420. So
Oh yeah. Let's just wait. So many things happen in one day. I'm surprised.
well, I'm like, dude, tomorrow,
You're like, I
the
got
Red
my
Sox game at
holiday. I got
1.
my holiday.
There's a Red Sox game. It's 420. There's a Red Sox game on at 1. The first Celtics game is on for the playoffs is on at 3:30, and then I've got WrestleMania night 2 at like 7 o'clock. That's my day tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go to my in-laws, have some food, hang out with Keely, and then yeah, come home. I'll probably end up watching
Mhm.
some. Oh, excuse me, some at night two. So, speaking of night two, um,
Me too.
weirdly enough, the one thing I'm not interested in, and it's sad, is the women's tag team championship. Just because there was a time where they had real teams, um, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez.
Oh, you don't like the individual names.
Well, no. I'm fine with
Like
Morgan.
it'd be
No.
like
Morgan and
a
Rodriguez makes
unified
sense
team.
because they're both friends and they're both on Judgment Day, so they're teams.
Mhm.
But there's no one to face them. They had Soto last week. They had a gauntlet match to decide who would face them. 4 or 5 teams, and each team were just two people who have never teamed together before. And when you think about that, Bailey
Yeah.
and Valkyrie were fighting each other, and they for the championship like a week before. Valkyrie is like the Intercontinental Women's Championship.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that it's not so much, yeah, because there's been women. I don't care about the different names, just their teams were thrown together, no reason. Like so, people said this is where Triple H has been the weakest. He's done well with the men's tag teams. He's got him a lot
Mhm.
more than what Vince did, but the women's tag team championship, and that's why there's only one women's tag team. They can't do Raw and SmackDown like with the men's. It just yeah.
Ah.
So
Okay.
so yeah.
Eh,
I mean, I'm
yeah,
not.
Liv
I mean,
Morgan. I know who she
with
is.
with
Yeah.
the people in it, it should be a good match. Do not get me wrong. I'm a storyline though. I can't see why Morgan Rodriguez won't retain, just because the other two are feuding. But we things happen.
There's way more. There's way more interesting stuff happening in night 2. I think.
Oh,
As I'm
correct.
looking over this
And that's
card right
oh
now, I'm
no.
like,
Then that if
I
that
want to
is
see
the
this.
worst.
I want to see this.
So the next match I'll talk about, and it's just because it's funny because we talk about the Paul brothers, AJ Styles versus Logan Paul, not Jake Paul, who
Oh,
fought Mike Tyson.
Logan Paul,
Yes, there's a
quote
difference.
unquote, fought Mike Tyson. Yeah, that wasn't fixed at all.
No,
Yep. Go
Logan
ahead.
Paul didn't, or Jake Paul did. Yeah, not fix or
Yeah.
cash out or anything, but I will say, Soto, and I think I've said this before, Logan Paul, out of every celebrity that has gone in to WWE, has put in the work. Like not just cash in, but
I've
it
seen
has.
him. Yeah, he looks all right.
No,
Yeah,
but
he does his thing.
he does big moves. He plays the heel
High flyer.
perfectly. Yeah,
Mhm.
Ronda Rousey might be the only one, but she has a very UFC background, so it helped. But no, I mean he trained. He's not half-assing it, is what I'm saying. He could easily have come in originally and just half-assed it because of his name alone, and like, okay, here's a WrestleMania moment. But he stuck around, and yeah, he's definitely done the work. So as much as I hate him, I can
Oh yeah,
respect that at least he's doing that for WWE. So, and AJ Styles
I
is
know
one
he
of the
does. It's
best
obvious.
performers. So that should actually, honestly,
He's
so
old, isn't he?
he is because he's getting close to retirement age. But this actually could be, again, a very good match. No real story to it.
Hmm.
We just need these two to fight, but this should actually be a good match, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Yeah,
So
I
I said
mean,
no.
look, I'll no, I will watch this one probably, but there's other ones that I'd rather watch on here. I
No,
really
and
like,
that's why it's second
you
to
know,
us. But
some of
like
the
I
stuff.
said,
Yeah,
um, there's a street fight between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, who you joked.
yeah.
um,
Puerto Rican
these,
Undertaker. Yeah.
yeah, these two have been going at it for the last year here and there. McIntyre's always gets screwed. Priest is somehow there from what when he stole the championship from McIntyre, I think twice, the Royal Rumble elimination. But McIntyre's done a lot of work, though, with like almost like he was the star of 2024 because he made that Punk feud huge when Punk was injured. But this street fight, again, I think McIntyre will win just because he needs to win more. They need to kind of build him back up because I think he's going to be in the main event soon. Whether or not champion, I don't know, but I can see him being the main event. So I don't know. This just two guys going at it, and a street fight's always kind of fun to watch. So I think this will be a fun match to watch.
All right. Yeah. So I could see that. Yeah.
One match I was looking forward to, which I'm sad is not happening, is Randy Orton was supposed to take on Kevin Owens.
Oh, I know.
They had
That would
a
have been
great
great.
story that's been kind of building the last year. Unfortunately, Kevin Owens is injured. So
Yeah.
it looks like Randy Orton's going to have a mystery opponent who some people are joking it might be the GM because the GM actually used to be a wrestler. And so about a year ago, Randy Orton was mad and he hit his RKO on the GM. And in story fashion, the GM said, "Hey, you're getting fined." And Randy Orton comes in, hands him a check, and the GM looks at him and he goes, "Well, hold on, that's way too much. That's twice as much." He's like, Randy Orton's like, "That's going to be for next time," kind of joking. Almost a year later, after Kevin Owens had to bow out, Randy Orton hits him, and they actually brought that back. He's like, "Well, I did pay you double last time." So I like the fact that they called back to that. So a lot of people thought he was going to come in and kind of come out of retirement, but I think I kind of talked about a lot of stars coming back. They used to work for Triple H and NXT who left for AEW. There's a guy named Aleister Black who was very popular in NXT, just didn't hit it on the main roster. He's coming back. They've been showing vignettes, so he might be a surprise opponent. I would go with that just to get him introduced. Either one, Randy Orton can take a loss. Not a big deal. He's been in the company for like 20, 25 years. So
not Stone Cold coming out in this
no,
one.
no. Randy Orton's a face, so I think
Stone Cold versus Randy Orton.
that has happened. Probably, I don't know if that's happened actually, because Randy Orton was just
I
starting.
don't remember seeing it. But
No.
Yeah, but yeah,
Stone
I
Cold
bowed out.
But so that's my opinion. So the third one match I am looking forward to just because of the people involved. The Intercontinental Championship. You showed me the video of Braun Breaker, and if anyone knows the Scott Steiner math, Braun Breaker pays tribute to his uncle, and but it's just hilarious. But he's facing Finn Balor, he's facing Penta and Dominic Mysterio. With everyone involved in the different styles, this could steal the show.
How does Braun Breaker not kill everybody in this match? I mean, Braun Breaker. I mean, you saw that spear that he had on Carlito. Did you see that video?
Oh God, yeah. Him was a KSI in the Rumble. I'm surprised KSI could walk because he's not a wrestler. I think this
Braun Breaker's just a fucking beast, man. I mean, his DNA is beastly.
He's a Steiner. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
the Steiner brothers.
I
in the
know.
Day.
I grew up on the Steiner brothers. Yeah.
But as I said with Drew, I think Braun Breaker drops the belt. Only because, again, I feel like they can take Braun Breaker to the next level. Like, you're going to start seeing him in the title picture more.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of people picked Dominic Mysterio to steal
probably the next
this.
one to go up. So.
Like, a la Eddie Guerrero. So, yeah, anyone could win this, but I think Dominic Mysterio needs the belt despisable heel, and it'll be hilarious. So Soto, let's talk about your favorite woman, Rhea Ripley. Her and
Yeah.
Bianca
Oh,
Belair are facing
so
Io Sky for the championship. These three workers are fucking awesome. This should be the best women's match all weekend, in my opinion, based on who's
oh,
involved.
oh, for sure.
I can see this.
Maybe had to wait till Sunday to watch this shit.
Well, yeah, I'm looking. This is not the bathroom break. This could actually open up. Well, I don't know if it could open up. I don't know what's going to open up night two. But anyhow, we've watched these three go at it. Blair, Ripley, Io Sky. I don't know how to call this. A
Yeah.
lot of people are guessing, Blair because she's undefeated. I don't know. I could see any of them do it. It's just this should be just a great match. And I know your love for Rhea, so I know
think
where
so,
your
yeah.
heart might be in the match, but
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you bring up a great point. It's like, do I root for anybody to win anymore? It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't care who wins, I guess. I just want something to
entertain.
be interesting.
Correct.
Right, exactly. Like, because when I was little, yeah, of course, I was like, I want the Ultimate Warrior to win. He's the best. But now I'm like, I just want it. If you're gonna have a story, right, you gotta you make a promise and then you fulfill the promise. Just make it make sense.
Yeah.
Lay out some ground rules and have an ending that makes sense to me, and I'm cool with it. I'm not gonna get mad if somebody gets
No, correct.
screwed over and like there's oh my god, the ref's not looking and somebody gets hit with a mallet or something and then they get pinned. It's like just don't do that. Just do something interesting that I didn't see coming, and then I don't know, we can go from there. But I'm just gonna enjoy watching Rhea Ripley do her thing, and that'll be pleasant for me as an experience. And I understand why it's on night two. Night two seems to be built to be like night two seems to me to be like the main event when I look at all of it, minus the John Cena Cody Rhodes match, because I'm not really, to be quite honest, expecting a lot out of that.
So we're gonna get to that in just a moment. Because it's funny you say this, because that's how all I want to see for a majority of this. But we're like, what's the reason? Is it gonna end the story?
That's the reason.
No, but because like you said, is
Yeah.
it just something happening for, as we say, when we do our movie talks, like, oh, is it just happening for movie reasons? Like, just because, or is there a reason behind it? Because if the story is not continuing properly or somewhere that makes sense, let me put it that way. I mean, like, what? Or, if finale, like, to me, the Priest and McIntyre, I feel like, because they've been going at it all year, like, whoever wins, and the story is kind of over and they'll go their separate ways, which is fine. It happens. So to me, that should be, it will be clean, regardless, because even McIntyre being the heel, I feel like he's going to win. So some of these stories are going to continue. And are they doing it properly? Does it make sense? And I think that's why I appreciate Triple H at the helm, because he long-term books more so than Vince McMahon. Sami Zayn, who's not on the card, which is insane to me, kind of said this. They were talking about because he had one huge match against Roman Reigns when he turned on the bloodline. But Sami Zayn says he's fine with never being world champion. He's like, he had a better chance of being world champion under Vince McMahon. People are like, what? Why? He's like, because McMahon might make that last minute crazy title change, and he had this different kind of character, like a heel character. Then he's like, I could have seen him do it then. But he's like, Triple H, books out so far in advance. He's like, it's tough. He's like, which is fine. He's like, I can respect the product because it is a product now. It's not just one title, just making, it's like, if you're not in the title match with Vince McMahon, most of the other stories don't care. No one cared about it. Outside of Attitude, it came because it goes up and down. We talked about the Attitude Era, but even in the 80s, like the old school stuff, some of the match quality wasn't great, but if I remember watching, they made you care about that low card. Like we joke about the Bushwhackers who shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but anytime they came out, fans are like, you're just cheering them on, so that's what
they were over.
And that's what all that matters. Are you over? Are you hated? No, as Rocks, know your role. So I think I can appreciate Triple H because, yes, he's kind of not just throwing darts or like, let's just see if this sticks. There is a long-term thing. And, I'm sure there's every now and then like, all right, we kind of have to pivot if it, again, makes sense, which brings us now to the main event. the thing that majority of people never thought would happen, John Cena, who turned heel, and I never thought it would happen, not just because he's been face his whole time, but the stuff he's done for Make-A-Wish and the kids. Like, if you got to a point, like, you can't turn him heel. He does so much for outside of wrestling community. But yeah, he's facing Cody Rhodes. And a lot of people think Cena's going to win because, The Rock's going to be in his corner. And how do you waste one of the biggest heel turns of all time, if not second to Hogan turning with the NWO? How do you waste
You took the words right out of my mouth, yeah. Otherwise, what the fuck is the point of the story?
Correct. The only
if Cena loses, what the fuck was the point?
Correct. And, since, I think because when he announced his retirement, everyone knew he was going to win his 17th. They were going to have him break the Flair record. He could, because from my understanding, Triple H pitched him the idea. It's like, do you want to try heel? Here's my idea. And obviously they won't share. Cena's like, you know what? I just want to, run the hits. He could have been like, and he's John fucking Cena. I'm sure they're like, okay, no problem. But the fact that Cena went along with it's like, okay. So there's something going on, but you knew he was going to get his 17th. They're going to have him break the Flair record because
it's not like a real sport.
You have the company guy do, but for him to win as a heel is going to be pretty damn funny.
Again, I feel like there will be shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that there's going to be a clean win. It'll be controversial because, right, you got Raw the next day, the post WrestleMania Raw, and I don't know what's the next pay-per-view. What is, because WrestleMania is like the season finale, right? Of like,
they end the stories and then start. Yeah, so I don't know. I think they called it Backlash. The next big one will be Money in the Bank.
Right.
Yeah. But
I've never seen a Money in the Bank.
Oh, I know. We're going to talk about this. This is one of the matches I want to show you, and we'll talk about this another day because it's one of the best. It's the match itself isn't totally original, but the gimmick of what happens afterwards is one of the most original things they have done. It's my second favorite, maybe just behind Royal Rumble, and we'll talk about that later. But back to the Cena Rhodes thing. What's funny is, all right, so SmackDown last night, they had Cena and Rhodes obviously face to face one last time, hype it. And this is why I love WrestleMania crowds. It was 50-50 cheers. Like, Cena actually got booed, but people started cheering Cena and booing Cody because Cody's been, you know how they do it with like these baby faces when they've been winning for so long, and he has for years. So I don't know. You're right.
Well, I thought Cody might have a little bit of a heel turn in the Kevin Owens match a little bit.
Yeah.
I was kind of feeling a little bit of heat there because the actions that he did on Kevin Owens were kind of heel like. So that'd be an interesting turn.
A lot of people are looking forward to the day if he does, and he probably will eventually. But we'll see. But I don't know. Because the typical. I don't think Cena is going to be champ the whole year. I do think he'll win it. Obviously, to me, he's going to turn face before the end of the year for whatever reasons. I think has to, because I think The Rock's going to want the championship, and so he's going to ask Cena to lay down. And I think that's kind of something will happen there because that's the only thing that makes sense in my brain. Doesn't mean it's what's going to happen.
The Rock,
yeah, because the
wants to be the champion.
The Rock wants it all. I think because remember he's like he told Cody, I want your soul, I want this, I want you, and Cody told him to fuck off, which was
he did.
Damn. Again, you don't hear that.
Fuck yourself, Rock.
And then
Jesus Christ.
So obviously that comes to play. What the Rock's involvement, they kind of know. So again, I could be wrong, but I feel like there's going to be something there. But you're right, there's going to be some kind of shenanigans. And who knows? Like if Cody wins, what's the point? Unless somehow Cody turns heel, like a weird heel versus who knows? I don't know. But this is one where I don't care about the match. I just want to see the end. I want to, just be like, all right, get to the part I need to see for the story reasons. I need to understand because I'm like just Cena beating Cody clean can't happen. Even if he wins by
Cody being
cheating, I feel like there's something more than just Cena cheating here. So they got to make this moment big enough. Because they had one of the biggest moments.
Cody Rhodes heel turn would be interesting somehow. I don't know how you do that. That'd be interesting.
And just screw over Cena and just be like, listen, you're not breaking Ric Flair's record.
Feels
because that could be the only thing.
Like one. You feel like Cody Rhodes feels like he could be like I could easily see him being a heel. Like he's just got that face. I don't know.
Oh
We'll
no,
see.
agreed.
Um,
I mean, he was a heel. Just now, again, when you're the face of the company, and again, the kids love you. Your merchandise sales are up. It's so hard because that's where the money is at. You know. So, but
yeah,
you know what?
yeah.
Like I said, the season's ending. Um, who knows? Like I said, I see Cena winning, but the only reason I could see Cody winning is if it's another heel turn and it's something along the lines like, I don't want you to break Flair's record. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Uh, but we'll, come
Players
Monday,
record. I mean, it's like some guy just wrote you to be the champion like
correct.
16
But
times.
you
What
know
do you
what?
mean?
This is what people care
It's not
about.
fucking. It's not anything. Like I mean, you've lost the belt that many times. Like that doesn't. That's not interesting to me at all. It's like, oh, you're a champ. You've lost the championship belt 16 fucking times.
You're a
Like,
championship for a
Jesus
day and then
Christ.
lost it, and you're called to. Yeah. So no, but I do feel like Cena is going to win one this year, regardless. I think they have to. He's been the biggest star of the last 20, 25 years. He's the company
I don't care
man.
how unpredictable. I don't care how unpredictable or predictable. It would be a waste of the storyline for it to just be over tonight. Or, I'm sorry, tomorrow.
Oh, I know what you mean.
It would be a waste of. It would be like, what the fuck was this all about? You know, and I think that's more egregious than anything. When you're like, the storyline was pointless. That's a fail. I don't care who
No,
wins.
100%.
Just make it make sense or make it interesting or do your long-term story, whatever the fuck you want to do. But don't do a stupid boring thing. And you and I are kind of sitting here spitballing possible outcomes, but I know that they have a bunch of guys who are talking about, but then people are going to expect this and then people are going to expect that. So maybe they got something that we're not even seeing. So hopefully it's something that just surprises me.
Just something new. Something new, something unpredictable, and
Just make it entertaining. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me something to just give me something to come back to, because I've never seen a Backlash. I've never seen a Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank is one. I don't know if I'm going to watch back. It depends, but Money in the Bank, I definitely want you to see. I'm kind of.
I'm watching all these pay-per-views.
Hold on, schedule. Give me 1 second. 2025. I just want to see what's next. All right, so that's not even the full list, dudes. The full. Oh no, that is okay. It just ends in June. All right, this way. So yes, what they have announced is Backlash, May 10th. They put this out of order, so it's kind of. But Money in the Bank is June 7th. And then SummerSlam is August 2nd and 3rd. It's the first time SummerSlam is going to be on 2 nights. And then Clash in Paris, because they've been doing these like pay-per-views in other countries. So yeah, real quick. I mean, again, no one's listening, so fuck it. So Soto, you know how we talked about, I'm like, I want to show you a match, just get your opinion. And I wanted to show you the very first Money in the Bank match. I don't even know if it's the best one, but the inaugural one, which was invented by Chris Jericho. And he came to it, and this started at WrestleMania. So, it all ties in. Yes, the very first 4 or 5 matches were done at WrestleMania. Then it became so popular, they had to do its own pay-per-view. And now they have a men's and a women's Money Bank. But anyhow, so what it is it's a typical ladder match. So again, the match itself is pretty simple, but it's usually about 6 to 8 guys, on average 6, but it has been 7 or 8, depending on story reasons. And there's a briefcase up above. That's what you're bringing down. So the winner kind of like, pulls down, the title, but they pull the briefcase. They are the winner. They are the Money in the Bank champions. Now, Soto, what happens is afterwards that interests me, because while the match itself is nothing new, the winner in the next year can get a WWE title shot anytime, anywhere they want. Like they can either call.
Okay. Yeah.
So the inaugural one was, I'll kind of spoil for you a little bit because it doesn't really matter. It's old, but Edge. This is how Edge became a world champion and more out from tag team champions to the superstar. He won the initial one, and what happened was, people didn't know, how this worked. You got to remember. So they're like, oh, well, he can just be like, I'm going to fight you at this pay per view. So there was Elimination Chamber in January. John Cena, being Super Cena at that time, won. He was bloodied. he was done. He beat, five, whatever, the other five guys. You've seen Elimination Chamber, and they're raising it up.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon comes out. Now, John Cena was just in a match, and he goes, for the first time ever, congratulations, Cena, but now you have to defend your and Edge comes out, hands him the thing, and now Edge has a match against Cena. So Cena just went through this brutal match, and Edge just basically speared him twice and won the champ. So to me, it's like, so a majority win, but some people fail too. Like the next one, there's one like Rob Van Dam when he won. He went to again. Cena was champ. He's like, this is when they brought back ECW One Night Stand, and like the original ECW. A lot of those wrestlers came back. And he said, Cena, I'm going to fight you a one night stand in the main event for that championship. So, like, because he was kind of face, he called his shot. So that's the best thing, because you don't think about it. Seth Rollins had maybe the best cash in. A main event at WrestleMania was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. And a lot of people hated Roman Reigns, because they were shoving him down the throats. So the match is happening in the main event. Towards the end, Seth Rollins comes down with the briefcase and inserts it. And so it went from a basically 1-on-1 to a triple threat match. And it's called the Heist.
All of a sudden.
Yeah. Because Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank. He's like, I'm in this match now. And so that, to me, that's because you never know. It can happen on Raw. It can happen on SmackDown. The reason why I love CM Punk, too, like the very first time he cashed his in for his first championship, he was a face then. A lot of fans loved him. So no one's seen it. Like Edge was champion then. Batista beat the shit out of him. Punk has a referee, and he's like, so he's almost doing heel reasons to win, but the fans love it. So, because obviously fan favorite. So I'm like, that is smart. So Punk even says, like, throughout, like, hey, this is my Money in the Bank. I can do what I want. You like, this is the opportunity I took. He didn't care. But that's why I love it, because it's everything that happens after. You never know. So they tease it, for whatnot. You just never know when it's going to happen, but it doesn't, you don't have to be like, me and you are facing next week. You can just, you're bloodied, you're bruised, you come in like Edge did. He's like, I'm facing you now. And what can you do? So that's why I love Money in the Bank. The match itself, usually, obviously, it's usually a bunch of mid-carders, and it was a way kind of like the Royal Rumble to get them to that next level. Like I said, Edge, Punk, I know I'm probably, just guys who were not there yet used this and then became champions and then just kind of just stayed in that main event level afterwards. Don't not get me wrong. There's been some hiccups and screw ups and people that shouldn't have won it. I'm not going to say kind of like the Rumble, not always perfect, but that's why I like it. Now, yes, they have a women's one too. So it's the tease. It is so much better when the heel has it because, heel tactics, but that's why I love Money in the Bank. The match itself is fine. It's a ladder match. We've seen many ladder matches. It's the year after. It's that tease because they hold that. That was the idea because, I think originally Jericho had an idea. Vince McMahon, one of the smart things, he's like, why don't we put it in the briefcase? And so the contract's literally in it. Yeah, so it's always shenanigans, but it's the fact that you never know. And yes, that's why I love it. I think it's one of the best gimmick things afterwards because that threat of someone becoming champion is there. And so that's why I like it. So yeah, Money in the Bank, it's part of the first. I want to show you a few of those matches or check out a few of the matches or the few of the cash-ins because it is insane, the pops when they come out and they announce it. And yeah,
I believe it
because you never know. But it's a way to make a mid-carder a main eventer, and it's worked. So sometimes someone's failed too. So and then. Sometimes it's been a waste. You're like, well, what was the point? Why'd you put it on this guy? Because I'm like, this guy didn't need it. But, Vince McMahon had his way, so we'll see what happens. But that's what Money in the Bank is. It's interesting to see what they do the following year. So,
cool.
All right.
Oh, tough. Check it out.
Well, so we've been on for what, an hour and a half, 2 hours? I don't even know. We've been on for a little while. I know it's just been me and you. Well, we've had some people pop in. They didn't say anything, but I'm looking. At least we've had some pop-ins.
Hey, we're just vibing on WrestleMania, big weekend for WrestleMania. We're obviously big wrestling fans, and this is it got me definitely excited for it. It's kind of like when we did our our parlay, pizza parlay, whatever.
Oh my god!
Just talking about it makes me go, okay, cool. Now I'm like, so when I go in tonight to watch this. It's going to be interesting to perhaps have a follow up on this next week and kind of talk about the things that we saw and what we
might have
think will
guessed
happen
right.
next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, for
hopefully I
sure.
filled in
I mean, if
some of the
something,
stories.
yeah, you did. And if something happens that we talked about, I'm gonna be texting you, being like, "Holy shit, it
Well, like
happened!"
a lot of things, like I said, I'm real curious. Like I said, so for night one again, and these are just again it's dumb predictions, but I do think Jey Uso and Gunther are going to be the first match. I just feel, and I've heard because I agree, they always want to try and get the crowd going, so they usually have put like a ladder match here. You know, they just want to wait for the crowd to get pumped up. You know, and
WrestleMania, man.
yeah. So and to me, Jey Uso winning gets the crowd hyped. I'm curious who the Chad Gable or El Grande is going to face because I feel Rey Mysterio is injured. I'm again I'm excited for the main event, but I'm a Punk fan. I think I'm just curious about the Cargill and Naomi match. I'm curious where they're going to go with that. But yeah, because that story's not ending. I can tell you right now, Cargill and Naomi is not ending because somehow Bianca Belair is going to play into it. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, and we'll just see. And like I said, the only match I don't care about is New Day and Raiders. You know, it's just like, yeah, just tell me what happens. You know, that's your bathroom break match tonight.
Yeah. Well, I do want to see what the Viking experience looks like. So,
well, they're no longer Vikings, so they're War Raiders.
They're War Raiders. Okay, gotcha.
It's just when they originally came up, yeah, they had a name change to the Viking experience, and fans were like, I mean, again, Vince McMahon has changed so many names from NXT. It's like, well, this is what made them popular, famous. Why not just keep it in sight? But Vince McMahon had to make things his, and he didn't believe in some of the things Triple H was doing. But look at it now. We don't know, and I like not knowing. It's just fun. It's stupid. It's wrestling. So
exactly.
So, any final thoughts on WrestleManias in the past? Anything you want to bring up?
Man. I just this is great. No, I think we touched upon a lot of fucking wrestling today. That's for sure.
Well, we knew we had to go. I know. I said usually I want to stay at an hour, but I'm like, there's a lot to talk about. We got to keep this at a couple hours. And again, it's like, well, who's really listening?
No way we could have. There's no way we could have done just an hour. I don't think. I think we needed a warm up of some sort. But yeah, no. I'm just excited to see what's gonna happen. I'm excited that we got through the entire card. We talked about it. I don't know much about it, but I'm gonna learn.
Just find the ones you like and just enjoy the story. Just enjoy what's happening.
That's all I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, just gonna enjoy it. Just watch it. Just let it unfold, and yeah, we'll go from there. Yeah. I'm excited. Very excited.
I'm definitely excited for the main event. I just story wise, that's where the night one main event. Like, yeah, actually both main events.
Oh, it's
the Punk Romans because
night one for sure.
I feel like both main events shenanigans are going to happen as long as they're done correctly. We've watched a lot of old school WrestleManias with double countouts and double disqualifications, and you're just like, no, it's WrestleMania. Why? But we'll see. All right, Soto, I'm going to hit stop on this. If anyone actually listens to the end, let us know what your favorite moment is, because we have a few of them, a lot of good old school ones, and next week we'll be back just talking about whatever's on our mind, because we'll be back to a normal BS moment. But until then, watch WrestleMania, folks.
Mm-hmm.